If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by portrait photography, or just at a loss of what to focus on to take you to that next level, then come hang with me. I help guide portrait photographers just like you to stay clear and sharp in camera and with your goals. I'm your host, photographer, educator, and weirdly positive mama of four, Emily Supio. And this is the Stay Focused podcast. Photography advice to help you stay focused. Well, hey everyone, it's Emily Supio, and thank you for pressing play on today's episode of the Stay Focused podcast. I missed you all last week. If you listen faithfully every week, you might have noticed that we took a short hiatus last week, but for good reason. And many of you probably already know this, but we were kicking off the Photoshop Editing Academy by welcoming all of you into Photoshop Week last week. So we were having some fun in the on-demand and live classes last week, gearing up for that Photoshop Academy. If you were there, thank you for being there. I love teaching Photoshop. I had so much fun. If you were not there, don't worry. I will be doing that again come April. So just make sure you pay attention, listen to the podcast, follow me over on Instagram. My handle is @CozyClicks, and I will be opening up the Photoshop Editing Academy once again. Now, if you are catching this on Wednesday, the day that the podcast airs, and you did happen to catch Photoshop Week, or if you're just like, wait, what are you talking about? Enrollment actually ends today for our academy. So you can check that out at cozyclicks.com/academy. But if you happen to catch this on Thursday or a little bit later, you'll just have to wait until April, and that's okay too. I'll have some other goodies for you on the way in the future. So if you missed out, not a big deal, okay? I've got you with some other things. All right, you guys, today's podcast, it's just me and you, which I always love, right? When it's just a podcast where I don't bring a guest on, because I like to talk about things that will help move the needle for your photography goals. Before we dive into today's episode, though, I want to invite you to my free masterclass, the 4-step framework to confidently shooting gorgeous portraits. You can register for that at cozyclicks.com/framework. Like I said, I've always got things going on for you so that you can continue to move your photography goals forward. So even if you missed out on Photoshop Week last week, you can still join me in my free masterclass now by going to cozyclicks.com/framework. Okay, so let's break right into today's episode, because I want to chat with you about something that you're doing that I want you to stop doing if your goal is to create beautiful photos. So if you want to take better pictures, beautiful pictures, gorgeous pictures, or if you're like, no, I've got that down, now I want to edit great pictures, there's something that I'm going to say you're doing. I'm pretty confident in saying you're doing this, and I don't want you to do it anymore. And the reason why I'm so confident that you're doing this is because, number one, this is something that I did too. And number two, when I talk to my students, when I talk to people who follow me over on Instagram, when I talk to people inside my Facebook group, I hear the same, I want to say it the same thing, but the same pattern with new photographers quite a bit. And the intention of this thing that you're doing doesn't come from a bad place. And it's actually something that you're doing that you think is pretty good, okay? And if you're listening right now thinking, wait, I missed what she said. I haven't told you yet. I haven't told you what it is, so you didn't miss it. But here it is, okay? Most new photographers, and I'm guessing you too, and maybe you don't, maybe I'm totally wrong. You can call me out if I'm totally wrong, but most new photographers, new to shooting or newer to editing, you want to learn as much as you can, right? You want to see progress with your pictures. You want your pictures to be in focus. You want your pictures to be exposed, right? You want to figure out that camera. You want Photoshop to be super duper easy every time you pull it out. So you get into Facebook groups, you pull up articles on Google, maybe you go to the library. I was that person. I like actual real books. So I used to go to the library quite a bit and just check out books. Some of them were good, some of them not so good. But you want to learn as much as you can because you've got big goals for yourself, right? You want your pictures to start looking great. And I want to tell you that unfortunately, doing that is a recipe for disaster. Okay, I know because I did it. I know because I've worked with hundreds and hundreds, thousands actually, of students who feel the same way. And the thing is, when you really want to do something like master photography, start seeing results in your photos, you want to learn it all. But trying to learn it all, trying to learn everything out there can lead you in a rabbit hole, I guess, if you haven't noticed that already. Like maybe you pull up one Google article and you start getting some great information and you're all excited, you want to try it out. But then it might mention a piece of equipment or a new tool or a different button that you haven't heard of. So you click that article and you start learning that, right? And you think, okay, maybe I need to buy that thing, or maybe I need to learn more about that. And you type it into Google and you start pulling up articles on that. And the thing is, when we do that, we don't move as forward as quickly. I had to slow myself down while I was saying that. I could see the sentence in my brain I wanted to say, but we don't move as quickly as we think we should be by learning more, because trying to learn it all is going to leave you feeling frustrated. It's going to leave you overwhelmed, and you might have those feelings of overwhelmment already. Okay, I kind of even think I can see you shaking your head right now as you're listening to this. You feel really overwhelmed with all there is to learn when it comes to learning your camera, taking better pictures, photography in general, Photoshop or Lightroom in general, right? It feels really frustrating because it feels like there is so much to learn. But the thing is, you think you've got to learn it all. You think you've got to go out there and learn every single thing, every term that you're seeing. So I don't just want to say that and then leave you hanging like, oh, you're doing all this wrong, right? I've got to tell you what to do instead, because I've done this. I've worked with people who have done this, who have tried to learn so much. And so this works better. Okay, this is what I want you to do instead. So if your goal right now, and this is for you, if you want to take better pictures or if you want to edit better pictures too, either one, whatever goal you've got going on right now. Instead, what I want you to do is just keep things simple for yourself, okay? Focus on learning those foundations, those first pieces, and this goes with learning the camera or learning a new editing program. Keep it simple, because I get it. It's so overwhelming when we look at the big picture. And it's so much more doable when we just keep things simple and we know what to do and we know what to focus on to start seeing some movement, to start seeing some progress. So what I want you to do is look at those foundational things, either with your camera or whatever editing program you're looking at. Don't think you have to try to master it all. Don't think you have to buy more things out there to get better. Don't think you have to learn every single button, slider, drop-down menu, dial you see. Don't think you have to learn it all. Focus on those foundations, those first things, and get really good at those things first. Okay? So focus on what's going to see the biggest results in your photography. So if you're shooting, that might mean learning manual mode and getting really good at that first. Like really understanding that, really nailing it, and focus just on that until you move on to all of the other menus you see on your camera, until you move on to figuring out how to use Photoshop or Lightroom. So if you're just shooting right now, focus on just that. okay? And maybe if you're editing right now, focus on just maybe learning those adjustment layers and the layer masks. That's pretty foundational on Photoshop. And if you didn't know that already, now you do. But don't worry about all of the other buttons and things that are on there. Just those first things. And don't try to learn more until you get really good at that. Okay? Does that make sense? Taking and editing great photos, it's not as hard as you might think it is. A lot of people get that in their mind that it's very hard, it's very overwhelming, it's very frustrating, they can't do it. But in reality, it can be really easy for yourself if you just keep things simple. Are you getting my message here? I keep trying to say it a few times for you. We kind of do it to ourselves a little bit because we just get this idea stuck in our head that there's so much to learn and we've got to learn it all to get better. And it's just not true. It's not, you guys. Just keep it simple and get really good at those simple things. And you are going to see such results in the way your pictures look, in the way you take photos, and the way you edit photos. You're going to start seeing results much faster than what you're doing right now. And you know what? If you want to learn to take great pictures, make sure to sign up for that free masterclass I have going on right now. It is the 4-step framework to confidently shooting beautiful portraits. You can do that by clicking the link that is in the description of this podcast, either in the show notes or if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, there's a description to this episode. Or just go to cozyclicks.com/framework. And for those of you who are listening, maybe the first time you're listening, and you're wondering why I keep saying Cozy Clicks, well, the Stay Focused podcast is hosted, I guess, or housed on the Cozy Clicks website. So the Cozy Clicks online photography school is where all of my courses and classes and photography education is. And the Stay Focused podcast is a piece of that Cozy Clicks photography school. And so all of the links I talk about, all of the resources I talk about will, I'll always be directing you back to Cozy Clicks because that's the house there. And if you've heard me say this already, then you're just ahead of the game, right? And I'm happy that you've been listening for so long that you know that already. And remember too, thank you if you were a part of Photoshop Week last week. That was my free Photoshop training event. I will have that again in April. Okay, that will be coming back up. If you missed it, don't worry. I will have that back up for you. But if you happen to catch today's episode on the day it airs, these air on Wednesdays, you can still get into the Photoshop Editing Academy, which is my premium program. And you can just go over to cozyclicks.com/academy. That's only going to be open until tonight. So if you didn't catch that in time, that's okay too. I will have it open back up for you again next year. All right, you guys, I hope that resonated with you a little bit today. I hope that lets you breathe a little bit more when it comes to learning photography or editing, because now you know you don't have to go out there and learn it all to get good. Learn and work on that foundational stuff and get really good at it. Just keep learning that. Keep working on that foundational stuff before you move on to the next thing. And I think you are going to love, love, love the work, the progress, the creativity that you're going to create. And you know what? I always love to see what you create too. So if you're really proud of something, if you have taken a picture recently and you're like, you know what? I want to share this. Make sure to tag me over on Instagram. My handle is @CozyClicks. A lot of you have been doing that recently. I really like that. I like to see the work you're creating and let me know you listen to the show. Let me know an episode you really like. I love to connect with you as much as I can that way. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate when you take the time to connect with me. All right, you guys, I will be back next Wednesday with a brand new episode of the Stay Focused podcast. But until then, here is to staying in focus, in camera, and with your goals. Bye, you guys.